and good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, here on Mirror Now, we've been carrying out exhaustive ground checks, investigating the reality of our city's preparedness, bringing out the truth to you. And we are doing this as we stare at the end of Lockdown 4.0 to ask question if our cities are actually ready to open up and take on if there is any spike in cases. As far as Mumbai and Delhi are concerned, things are not looking that great, viewers. 4 different investigation reports, 4 exposes, and all raising serious concerns about our preparedness. Expose number 1 was what we brought to you earlier this week, where we made calls to 10 different hospitals, and we found that beds were not available in any of these hospitals. That is what was told to us. Expose number 2 is what I brought to you last night on the Urban Debate, where we found that the Delhi COVID helpline numbers are constantly busy. Only 3 out of 30 times did we manage to actually speak to anybody. Expose number 3 is what we broke this morning. An investigative report on how the private ambulance operators are running amok, looting the people of Mumbai in their times of need, charging between 10,000 and 20,000 rupees. And what we will bring to you now will be expose number 4, which is also about 5 to 6 days of waiting period in Mumbai's biggest of the hospitals and in Delhi. All our calls showed that there is a concern and shortage of beds across Delhi government and central government hospitals. These are the 2 stories we are going to focus on here on the Urban Debate at 8 p.m. So actually, let's begin with the Mumbai report, a Mirror Now investigation that we are bringing to you on the health infrastructure status. Viewers, if you remember, 2 days ago we told you how calls to 10 different hospitals led to them telling us that there were no beds available. We decided to take it a step further and find out just how long will somebody have to wait. And almost every hospital that we called this time around told us that their waiting list has 30 to 40 to 80 critical patients waiting to get admitted to the hospital. We also tried the central helpline number where the civic body has started. We were told after all our details were taken that in the area there are no beds available. So then one wonders, what will be the future of any patient who needs critical and urgent help right now from our Mumbai authorities? Now, before I get you more details and go across to the reporter, take a look at these audio tapes. These are the audio conversations we had, our reporter had, with the Mumbai hospitals. Here you go.
हाँ, एक कोविड पेशेंट के लिए बेड चाहिए था सर.
मैम एक्चुअली यहाँ पे वेटिंग लिस्ट है, बेड पूरा फुल है.
सर वेटिंग लिस्ट में कितने हैं, क्योंकि मुझे भी अपना नाम लिखवाना था.
25-30 पेशेंट के अंदर है अभी.
25-30.
हाँ.
तो उसका मिनिमम टाइम क्या होगा सर वेटिंग लिस्ट का, मतलब वेटिंग टाइम क्या होगा हमारे लिए?
आपके लिए वेटिंग हो आज अभी 22 to 23 का पेशेंट के लिए हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं बेड देने के लिए, फोन कर रहा हूँ.
ओके.
हाँ, इसके लिए हम
मतलब 5 to 6 डेज आप बोल रहे हैं शायद से. 5 to 6 डेज सर बता रहे हैं.
और आपका पेशेंट स्टेबल है, अगर कुछ तकलीफ नहीं है तो उनको घर पे क्वारंटाइन कर सकते हैं.
वॉकहार्ट हॉस्पिटल मुंबई.
यस मैडम.
सर एक कोविड पेशेंट के लिए बेड चाहिए था.
कोविड पेशेंट के लिए मैडम अभी तो बेड अवेलेबल नहीं है अपने पास.
सर एक्चुअली 2 दिन पहले मैंने वेटिंग लिस्ट करके वो एडमिशन डेस्क वालों ने नाम भी लिखाया था. मेरे को बताया था सर 2 दिन में नंबर आ जाना चाहिए और आपको कॉल आएगा.
बट अभी के लिए तो फिलहाल के लिए बेड अवेलेबल नहीं है.
तो सर हमारे आगे कितने लोग हैं मतलब वेटिंग के लिए?
नाम क्या है पेशेंट का आपको?
संध्या.
पेशेंट को वार्ड का रिक्वायरमेंट है या आईसीयू का रिक्वायरमेंट है?
नो सर, अभी वो तो तभी नहीं पूछा था. सिर्फ हमको बताया था कि आपको 2 दिन में आएगा, क्योंकि आई थिंक आप लोग का तभी उन्होंने बताया था वेटिंग अप्रोक्सीमेटली 25 से 30 लोगों का था तभी उस दिन. अब आज का मुझे नहीं मालूम सर.
अभी 26 पेशेंट है वेटिंग पे.
26. उसका टाइम कितना लगेगा सर अगर आप?
वो नहीं पता, वो डिस्चार्ज होएगा उसके बाद ही वो एडमिशन का होता है.
ओके, तो 2 दिन में डिस्चार्ज नहीं हुए क्या सर?
नहीं डिस्चार्ज मतलब अभी कैसा है, डिस्चार्ज आईसीयू से होते हैं कोई पेशेंट.
फिर से एडमिशन आ जाता है। तो ये पेशेंट डिस्चार्ज अभी तक ज़्यादा नहीं हुए हैं, इसलिए अभी आपका वेटिंग में नाम है हमारे इधर। उनको आईसीयू लगेगा या वार्ड लगेगा, कुछ आपको आइडिया है क्या?
एक्चुअली पॉजिटिव नहीं, पेशेंट एडमिटेड नहीं है, पॉजिटिव पेशेंट है, उनको फीवर है और कफ है।
ठीक है, अभी वार्ड के लिए आपका नाम है इधर। ठीक है, अभी तो उतना वेटिंग लिस्ट है सर मैडम। अब बेड आपको दूसरी जगह पे भी किधर हो जाएगा तो आप देख सकते हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि क्योंकि ये डिस्चार्ज के ऊपर डिपेंड होता है ना।
सर आईसीयू के लिए तो इससे भी ज्यादा होगा सर।
40 वेटिंग है, 40।
मुझे कोविड पेशेंट के लिए एक सर बेड चाहिए था।
कौन सा पेशेंट है? कोविड पेशेंट?
कोविड पेशेंट।
एक्चुअली मैम कोविड के लिए तो नहीं है फिलहाल बेड अभी।
क्योंकि तो आप सर आपके वहाँ पे कुछ वेटिंग लिस्ट है तो हमारा नाम ही लिखा
हाँ
जाएगा।
हाँ, पेशेंट का नाम बोलिए।
संध्या गुप्ता।
स्टेटस कोविड पॉजिटिव?
हाँ पॉजिटिव है सर। मुझे सिर्फ ये बताइए सर कब तक पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकता है, बिकॉज
अभी रिकॉर्ड हम भेज देंगे मेडिकल टीम के पास।
हाँ
तो बेड अवेलेबल होता है तो आपको कॉल करके बता देंगे पेशेंट का हिस्ट्री देखते।
तो टेंटेटिव सर मतलब कितने हमारे आगे कितने पेशेंट्स हैं? और हाँ बट सर अभी अगर हमको एक अंदाजा नंबर पता चले तो हमको भी सर
मालूम तो नहीं डाले हमने, अप्रोक्सीमेट किए।
हाँ तो अप्रोक्सीमेट कितना है सर, क्योंकि फिर ऐसा ना हो फिर हम लोग यहाँ पे वेट करते रहे तो हमको सर मालूम पड़े।
जगह पे भी ट्राई कीजिए मैम।
सर है बट अभी हम सबसे वही पूछ रहे ताकि जहाँ पे नंबर ज्यादा वेटिंग लिस्ट कम दिखे तो वहाँ पे फिर हम ज्यादा उम्मीद लगा सकते हैं।
यहाँ पे तो ज्यादा है, बहुत है वेटिंग लिस्ट।
अप्रोक्सीमेटली कितने हैं सर? 50, 60 कैसे मालूम?
50 के ऊपर है।
50 के ऊपर है। Okay, because actually I wanted to know that अभी तो situation मैम is okay, but in the future if at all breathlessness हो, God forbid ना हो, but आप लोग के वहाँ पे आए तो एडमिशन मिल जाएगा मैम?
Presently देखिए we are always full to capacity and I mean it's hard to promise you as of now what the situation will be then when you will require the bed.
मैम वेटिंग लिस्ट पे भी अगर नाम लिख दे
we are a COVID hospital को critical care.
Correct.
So we take in patients who are only having several pre-existing chronic conditions and who are not maintaining oxygen saturation by themselves, who need O2 support from us.
मैम अगर वेटिंग लिस्ट में नाम लिखेंगे तो भी चलेगा?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, I'm sorry, यहाँ पे there is no waiting list that is being maintained. As and when beds get vacant and we get requests for admission, we admit.
So this was, our correspondent Disha Shah talking like any other citizen in Bombay would speak. When you're in distress, when you have a patient at home and you want the person to be admitted to a hospital, this is what you would do. You would call up a hospital and find out whether a bed is available or not. Why did we do that? Now, we did that because over the last couple of weeks or so, the authorities in Bombay and in other cities as well have been making a series of claims about how they have been prepared. They've used the lockdown period of over 2 months to actually upgrade the facilities and create more beds and create more ICU units. The reality, as you can see, is very different. Every time that Disha called a hospital, each one of them gave her a waiting list. They gave her an approximate timing. None of them could promise that they will be able to give you a room or a bed before, say, 3 to 4 days. And joining us now is Disha Shah, our correspondent, who brought us this exclusive, having spoken to the 10-12 hospitals. Now, Disha, apart from having spoken, you've been one of our correspondents who's been tracking and leading our coverage of the coronavirus in Mumbai. You've tracked the BMC very closely. You've seen how the civic body works. And the BMC is pretty much leading the operation of making the city ready and prepared. What's the sense you got? I mean, you spoke to so many hospitals, and the reality that you found on ground was very different from what they've been claiming over the last few days or so. Isn't that so, Disha?
Well, that's right, Vinay sir. And in fact, what we know on the ground level exactly, this is the situation, this is the crisis. It's very easy for the state government and the BMC to tell us in our couple of last investigations that correspondent Santhia did, that you can easily call up 1916 and you did not go and call up these individual hospitals, because 1916 is the one helpline number which will help you out. But we also called up 1916, Vinay, and we actually got no response. We were being kept on hold. Then we were being asked several, basic details. And at the end of the day, we were being told that there are no beds available. They just gave us a complaint number. And they told us that a doctor will call you back as in when your bed will be given to you. So again, in the helpline number also we got no help. So as a normal citizen, if I am a critical patient or if any one of my family member is a critical patient, I cannot really wait for the helpline number doctors to call me back. So if I am staying in Parel, the best possible thing that I'll do is actually to call up the nearest hospitals I know, and that's exactly is what we did. And in all of these hospitals, Vinay, the only standard response that we got was there's a waiting list. There are no beds available, be it for critical patients or even for general ward patients. Secondly, they also gave us a tentative figure of the waiting list. In few of the hospitals we saw, specifically in KEM, there are about 80 to 82 patients on the wait list. Nair as well, we are looking at 75 plus waiting list. Even in private hospitals, we are looking anywhere the number between 25 to 30, and in fact more even in certain hospitals. So all of these are the situation, the crisis that we are looking at on the ground level, and clearly none of the hospitals really gave us that assurance that when we will be able to get the bed. And here we are talking about the critical patients, Vinay, and on the ground level we spoke to at least 10 to 12 such hospitals. We even made some calls between 1 to 2 o'clock in the night, Vinay, that is last midnight, so that, you know, critical patient emergency can happen anytime. So what does the hospital do in such cases? At that point in time also we got the same standard response that we have no beds, there's no availability, and at the end of the day there's a waiting list. We cannot really promise 2 to 3, maximum 5 to 6 days. Nothing can be assured and promised.
Right. Right. So, Disha, stay online with us because I'll come back to you. You have a lot of other questions to answer as well from us. But joining us right now is also the national spokesperson of the NCP, which is one of the three parties that currently govern Maharashtra. Seema Malik, Maharashtra government is run by three different parties, and I understand there can be coordination issues between different political parties. It's a new aggregation. It takes time to get used to each other. But this was a crisis that has now been on for the last 60 days or so. The first lockdown was announced in end March. In the last 64 days or so, we've seen a series of flip-flops that the BMC has come up with. They've changed policies. They've changed the rules. We saw the entire top brass of BMC being replaced midway into this crisis. Would you not concede tonight that there has been a bit of a slight mess up in the way the city has been preparing itself for what we knew would be a big challenge? I mean, everybody knows Mumbai is a very congested city. Everybody knows Mumbai has close to 1.8 crore population. Clearly, we should have been slightly better prepared, Seema Malik.
Like you say, you understand that it is a pandemic, and the what is the the situation of Mumbai. There's so many people are pouring into Mumbai, and we have so many international flights are coming there. I think you understand all these things. But see, it's not like this that we are not working and we are not arranging anything or something like this. It is very unfortunate. I don't know that we have made a portal, and why the I was listening everything that, of course, we cannot deny that the beds are full and all this thing. But we have to think that we are the patients, like we have to categorize the patients, like who need really a critical care, or there are some patients who are mild, who have got the mild symptoms or moderate symptoms. Because, and see what we are like, we are working on every level. Like, see, one of the new hospitals coming in Kurlavalli, and like we will have more than 1,000 beds, including some ICU beds. uh, the private hospitals, 80% beds of the private hospitals, all this on a very economical race. We are arranging ambulances. We are contacting Uber and all those things. We are calling doctors from the other cities also. Like, we are working on all the levels, and you have to understand that it is a pandemic, and what kind of geographical situations Mumbai is having, and it's a commercial capital. People are coming from everywhere. The connectivity of the Mumbai. So it's just not like this that the government is not working and we are not arranging. We are thinking of having ICU on new hospital has come, which has got a capacity of 1,000 beds, and it can be increased up to 5,000 beds. Then we are doing on all the levels. You know that complexes like NESU, like then Mahalakshmi complex, then the National Sport.
I
And the
understand that, Seema
Nehru
Malik. I
Planetarium.
completely
I
understand
mean,
what you're saying.
we
You've repeatedly told me that it's a pandemic.
yes, you know,
You've repeatedly
let's
told me
the
that a
idea.
lot of people have come into
Yes,
Bombay.
yes.
But I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but this is a pandemic for every single state and city in this country. Maharashtra and Bombay is not the only city in the state that is facing this pandemic. I mean, you have Kerala, you have New Delhi, you have West Bengal, you have all kinds of states which are facing a similar problem. Surely the financial capital of India should be better prepared, Seema Malik.
The only consideration we are having is that our death rate is decreasing. It means that we are treating patients nicely. Our doctors and the nurses are working day and night, and and it is very unfortunate that the opposition people are putting some videos, some scary videos, which is demoralizing the doctors also, and
Hang
and
on,
the
hang on,
people
hang
are
on.
also
Seema
scared
Malik,
of
hang
coming
on,
to the.
hang on.
Oh,
Hang on, Seema Malik.
please.
Let's not bring the
I don't.
opposition here. I mean, we are not going by what the opposition is saying. Our own correspondents have been speaking
Yes.
exactly like somebody in your family or your friend circle would call. A regular person would call a hospital like this, and this is what they've heard. There is a waiting period of 5 to 6 days. ICU beds are not available. Our correspondent Santya Gora went out and found out there are ambulances which are charging 14, 15,000 rupees for a 30-kilometer distance. That's not preparedness, Seema Malik.
No, see, I told you, like we are working on all the levels. What we can do, we are trying our best, and we really need the support of the other people also into this. And like to see whether it is having more beds, where it is having beds with oxygen support and ICU beds. Everything we are, trying to arrange. And I don't say that we are perfect and these things are not there. Maybe, this. And all those things. I don't deny that, but I think very soon, this problem won't be there. You are like you people are putting these problems to us, and we will take care of all these things. And it doesn't, but it doesn't mean that we are not prepared and we are not,
No,
some
Dr. Seema Malik,
because
I
three
think this is
people
exactly
running
what
the
it
government.
means, and I'm sorry I'm coming in here, but if people have to run from one hospital to the other, if they have to make 20, 50 calls, if they have to shell out 40,000 rupees with an ambulance going from one hospital to the other, it means we are not prepared. It means that we've not used these 2 months properly. And I want to emphasize on the fact that the ICMR's internal estimates over a month ago had pegged Mumbai's cases to 1.5 lakh by end of May. Now, while we've managed to contain it, if we are not even able to handle 1/3 of that caseload, what does that say of the preparations of our hospitals? We can keep saying we are adding more, but how long will we play up this catch-up game? That's the whole point. I want to highlight one more aspect, and if I can just go back to Disha on that. Disha, 2 days ago, when we put out our first round of investigation about the hospitals, the explanation that was given to us was that there is a helpline, and people are supposed to call on that helpline, and they will be told where a bed is available and they can go there. Now, please highlight to our viewers again, what was your experience when you called that helpline number also?
Well, Tanvi, firstly, in the initial couple of calls, at least 5 to 6 times when I called 1916, I did not get any response. It continuously said that they were busy. All the helpline numbers were busy is what I was being, told. Then later on the 7th call, that was about 20 to 25 minutes, I could actually get through 1916. The operator picked up, and I just asked them that my mother is a critical patient. She's a COVID positive patient, and she needs a bed immediately. And I live in the Parel area. So if you can just tell us where, which hospital we can get her admitted, because she's having a couple of symptoms like fever, breathlessness, and her situation is really bad at this point. Going forward, the operator asked me some 10 questions about the patient's details, about where I live, where the patient lives, and the basic other details about the symptoms, the age group, etc. After really 8 to 9 minutes of conversation, then they just tell me in return that there are no beds available in the Parel Dadar area that you are looking at. So at the end of the day, they just gave me a complainant number. So they say that if the doctors are unable to call you in at least 2 to 3 days time, then you can give us a call back on 1916 and just tell your complainant number and we can check the status. We are just registering your name as of now, and as and when there will be bed allotment, bed availability, we will call you. So this is the kind of response, Tanvi, that we got on 1916, and this is the helpline number which BMC claims. It's working very fine. It is very helpful for all the people. They do not have to actually go from pillar to post. But if these helplines are not working, then if I am a critical patient, I cannot wait for 2 to 3 days more for the doctor to call me. I need treatment immediately, and the next thing I'll do is the nearest hospital I know, because if I have been staying in the city for last 15-20 years, I will directly call these hospitals, and again I'm getting the same response that there are no bed available, there is waiting lists. So these are the kind of crises that people really face.
Right, absolutely. Well, Disha, thanks so much for bringing us this investigation report. Seema Malik, thank you for joining us and giving us your responses. But I have to say this, the Maharashtra government needs to do a lot more, needs to really pick up the pace on building up health infrastructure. It doesn't matter if you keep telling us how many grounds you've spotted, how many special quarantine centers you're building. If you cannot even give beds to critical patients on waiting lists of the hospitals, viewers, what else is really then needed to be said about the state of preparedness of Mumbai? That's Mumbai. Let's now move on to Delhi. Now, yesterday we told you how the helpline numbers are a big mess. In fact, we had an AAP representative admit to us here that yes, that is a problem. They are solving it. Out of the 30 calls that Alok had made, only 3 times he actually got through. Every other time the lines were busy. He spent almost 2 hours trying to get through somebody on that helpline number. Today he's gone a step ahead, and this is the second part of Alok's Delhi investigation on the state of preparedness, where he made phone calls just like we did in Mumbai to hospitals to find where he can get admission, urgently a bed needed for a COVID patient. And while the situation was slightly better, while he did get some response in a few of the hospitals, in most of the biggest hospitals, private and government run, they told him no beds are available. Listen into some of those audio tapes. Alok made several calls. Here are a few of those clips.
हेलो सर, एम्स हॉस्पिटल।
हाँ जी
सर, ये कोविड पेशेंट हैं, सीनियर सिटीजन है 759। क्या बेड्स अवेलेबल होंगे क्या?
हाँ,
बेड अवेलेबल होंगे क्या कोविड के लिए?
देखिए मैं फोन ऑपरेटर नहीं हूँ यहाँ पे, भी थोड़ी देर में बात कर लेना बस, ठीक है ना
सर, किसके पास कोई नंबर हो, एक्सटेंशन हो, कहीं तो जोड़ दीजिए। ये सर एक्चुअली देयर इज अ पेशेंट ऑफ कोविड पेशेंट। I just want to know whether there is a availability of the bed or not in the Apollo.
Sure, sir. I'll be glad to assist you. May I know your good name, please?
My name is Alok.
Hello. Mr. Alok, may I know for which location you're looking for the appointment for bed?
In Sarita Vihar or anywhere, because we live in South Delhi. I know that Sarita Vihar is the nearest hospital.
Okay, Mr. Alok, but I'm really very sorry to say this, sir. Right now, all the beds are full for COVID-19 patient in Apollo Hospitals, Delhi.
Okay.
We request you to please visit the locations, visit the nodal locations.
Other hospitals?
Yes, sir, you're right. Okay.
Any waiting, sir? Means that if I have to wait for today, that if I want to come tomorrow?
No, sir, we don't have any update regarding this, because if the beds are open, we'll let you know.
सर, कोविड पेशेंट हैं, उनके लिए एडमिशन के बारे में पूछना था। सीरियस हैं, 59 ईयर ओल्ड।
जी
सर,
अभी एडमिशन तो फुल है, एडमिशन हो नहीं रहे हमारे हॉस्पिटल।
फुल हैं सर? कोई वेटिंग
के लिए सर एक नंबर लिख लीजिए आप,
हाँ।
कॉल कर सकते हैं। अभी तो नंबर बिजी आ रहा है। एडमिशन नंबर है 4052।
ओके, तो मतलब वैसे फुल है सर, हैं? कोई वेटिंग का नहीं है अभी 2-3 दिन 4 दिन कुछ?
जी सर, आप वहाँ बात कर सकते हैं अगर कुछ हो सकता है।
सर आरएमएल हॉस्पिटल से बोल रहे हैं?
हाँ बोले।
अच्छा, ये पूछ रहे थे कि सर मेरी आंट है, उनकी तबीयत खराब है और वो कोविड पेशेंट है, पॉजिटिव है। हॉस्पिटल में बेड वगैरह मिल जाएगा सर?
ये तो सर डॉक्टर ही बताएंगे।
मतलब?
हाँ, मतलब कि डॉक्टर ही बताएंगे आपको, वहाँ पे दिखाइए, डॉक्टर
हाँ।
बताएंगे कि बेड है या नहीं है।
अच्छा, मतलब अभी आपके पास अवेलेबिलिटी के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है, मुझे आके डॉक्टर को दिखाना पड़ेगा।
हाँ,
और डॉक्टर
वही।
अगर कहेंगे कि हाँ ये एडमिट करने लायक है तभी एडमिट होगा, आप ये
जी
कहना
जी
चाहते
जी
हैं?
जी।
नहीं वो मैं समझ गया सर, नहीं लेकिन
क्वारंटाइन के लिए भी बोल सकते हैं, क्योंकि देखिए अब नंबर ऑफ पेशेंट इतने ज्यादा हो गए ना कि जो क्वारंटाइन सेंटर जो गवर्नमेंट ने बनाया जगह जगह वो सब सारा फुल हो चुका है।
अच्छा,
तो अब अगर हाउस क्वारंटाइन करते हैं तो वो तो ज्यादा बेहतर है कि कम से कम जो है ना थोड़ा डोमेस्टिक रहेगा, फीलिंग भी डोमेस्टिक रहेगा। तो वही मतलब है, एक बार आके रिपोर्ट साथ में लाके दिखाइए।
सर ऐसा है कि तबीयत ज्यादा, मतलब मैं यही चाहता हूँ मैं आऊँ वहाँ पर दिखाऊँ, बेड ना मिले, मैं चाहता हूँ जहाँ बेड अवेलेबल हो मैं वहाँ पर लेकर के जाऊँ ताकि एक बार मैं एडमिट हो जाऊँ, क्योंकि तबीयत खराब है।
होल्ड करिए मैं बात कराता हूँ।
हेलो।
जी सर।
हाँ जी
सर 59 ईयर ओल्ड हैं, वही मेरी आंट है, उनको लेकर के आना है। कोविड है, थोड़ी तबीयत खराब है उनकी, मुझे लगता है शायद आईसीयू की भी जरूरत पड़ सकती है।
अवेलेबल नहीं है बेड, अभी हम रेफर ही कर रहे हैं। तो एलएनजेपी में आप पूछ लीजिए एक बार।
Not available, not available, not available. That's what we found in many cases. Imagine the plight of somebody who first attempts the helpline numbers, then directly starts up calling the hospitals. Vinay Tiwari, our managing editor, continues to stay with us. Let me first go across to Alok, who's been, carrying out these investigative reports for us. Alok, 7 different hospitals, a mix of government and private-owned, central and Delhi government. In a few cases, they did tell you that the beds are available, but largely the answer was no.
Yes, Tanvi, and this is the picture in the national capital about the health infrastructure. Remember, Delhi government had claimed that they are increasing the bed, there are sufficient quantity of beds, but the exact situation is this, what I found out today when I called so many hospitals. These are 13 hospitals, these are the central what we can centralized hospital, because most of the people, if you see the names of these hospitals, most of the Delhiites are basically look for these hospitals if any patient come into their family members. These are the Safdarjung Hospital, Loknayak Hospital, AIMS Hospital, all these places where I found out that they were saying that there is no admission, they have no beds. In fact, in the Loknayak Hospital, they said that they can admit the patient, but they don't have the availability of ICU. They cannot clearly tell me that whether they will provide the ICU or not. So this is the picture of the national capital. So the fact of the matter is, still today, we found out till today, that till afternoon, I made the calls to these hospitals, and I found out that in majority of hospital, out of 13, in 10 hospital, I was clearly said that no, there is no space in the no space in the hospital, and you have to look for some other place. So and in the coming days, Tanvi, we all know that the number of cases are increasing in the national capital. Yesterday, 1,000 case was reported in the national capital. Already, the Delhi is open. So how much Delhi is prepared for battling this situation, that the time will tell. But Delhi government claim is different, that they are saying that they are all prepared, but the ground situation is something else.
Yes, in fact, let me just also bring in Vinay on this. Vinay, now while the situation in Delhi isn't as dire as Mumbai, but fact of the matter also is that the Delhi government has been claiming that they are prepared. Now, of course, we also have to highlight to our viewers that the checks we did included a mix of different hospitals, Delhi government, central and private, but it's still far from what this, kind of preparedness should be.
Absolutely, and especially not when you've already spent 60 days in a full lockdown or a semi-lockdown situation, because the very purpose of the lockdown and a national lockdown was to allow the governments to prepare and upgrade their health infrastructure. So why did we choose Delhi and Mumbai, Tanvi? Number one, of course, they are the biggest cities of India, and ideally they should also have been the best prepared. They should have had better resources. They have greater resources at their command. They have better bureaucracy and better administration system, better availability of vehicles, manpower, all kinds of things with the two biggest cities. And as you now see, and as our reporters have now shown from the ground, the preparedness in India's two biggest cities seems to be a lot suspect. Bombay especially is a case in point where we've seen serious shortcomings in what they're claiming and what the reality on the ground is. And Delhi too has shown up inadequacies as well. What surprises me is that despite ICMR giving its own projections and advising the state governments repeatedly over what kind of levels of situations they should be prepared for, we haven't exactly been prepared for. And as you pointed out some time back, Tanvi, Bombay, the ICMR projections were almost a lakh of cases by May end. They're only 1/3 of it, and they're still struggling. Now that does not sound good at all for India's financial district as well as India's national capital, which should have been better prepared. I mean, states like Kerala and some of the other states have actually done much better than some of the states that should have actually been much better. Remember, Delhi and Bombay controls the key to India's economy as well. And if you don't get these two cities right, you will have a problem. Also remember, Corona as a virus is not going to go away anywhere. It's going to be with us. And the only way you can respond well to it till you find a cure or a vaccination is to upgrade your health infra and ensure that people get the treatment that they deserve at the right time, Tanvi.
Yes. If I can just very quickly go back to Alok, and then we'll play out one more clip. But Alok, from what the Delhi government has been saying, and you know, there was a news briefing today as well on their level of preparedness. While they did say that they will be adding more beds, does it match with what your own report has showed as an on-ground reality?
Well, Tanvi, this is the two things that Delhi government is claiming that they have 4,000 beds and there are many beds, majority of beds are still vacant. So what we are saying that these beds are these hospitals where these Delhi government is claiming these are normal beds, that if the person is COVID affected, he can go there and just remain there as an isolation, and if he wants the oxygen, he can get. But we are talking about these private hospitals, those private hospitals, these 7 private hospitals where I called, and these central government hospitals where I called. These are the most important and big hospitals where the people usually look for. Whenever the patient come in the family members, they will go to and approach these hospitals because these hospitals provide good facilities. But however, the Delhi government claim is that they are providing, there are the vacancy in the beds, on the beds. So we can say that there are beds available, but they are not providing that facilities which that facility is providing these hospitals. So this is the main problem of this whole thing is. And apart from that, I just want to bring one information. Just a few minutes ago, that we got the information from the Delhi government that they are now going to take the help of the hotels. 5 hotels will be set up as the COVID treatment centers, and these hotels will be provided with the officials from or the healthcare workers from the nearby private hospitals. So they are now turning the private hospital into the COVID designated hospitals, private hotels into the COVID designated hospitals. So this is the information that we are getting. So this way that the Delhi government is preparing, we hope that once the Delhi government, whatever the Delhi government claim is, will be proved well, and definitely the people who are still suffering, who are still running from pillar to post, they will get the bed and they will be treated far better than as the situation is.
All right, Alok. In fact, you mentioned the Safdarjung Hospital earlier, and that's also a tape that I want to play out. Another of the big hospitals in Delhi, and this is what Alok found out.
हेलो मैडम।
हाँ जी, यस
मैम एक पेशेंट है 59 ईयर ओल्ड, मेरी आंटी हैं, उनकी तबीयत थोड़ी खराब है, कोविड पॉजिटिव है। आपके यहाँ बेड होगा मैम अवेलेबल?
कोविड पॉजिटिव है पेशेंट आपकी?
यस मैम।
तो आप कहाँ पे है?
मैम हम तो अभी यहाँ साउथ दिल्ली के पास में, साउथ
होम क्वारंटाइन पे थी पेशेंट?
नहीं, होम क्वारंटाइन पे। अब कह सकते हैं मैम, उनका टेस्ट कराया था और पॉजिटिव आया रिजल्ट। मैम ये बस बता, इनका नाम है चंद्रा सिंह।
सर ऐसा है, आई हैव टू गिव दीज डिटेल्स फर्स्ट टू द एसएसबी, जो हमारे कोविड का ब्लॉक है।
yes,
वहाँ पे वो मुझे बताएंगे कि वेदर दे हैव बेड और नॉट।
मतलब पेशेंट को अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या हो रही है ये बताएं।
मैम वही अस्थमा की और दिक्कत हो रही है उनको, तो मुझे लगता है कि जब मैं लेके आऊंगा तो आईसीयू वगैरह में भी जरूरत पड़ सकती है।
अच्छा ठीक है, ओके।
हाँ हेलो।
वो तो रख गई।
तो अब रख के तो छोड़ दिया, उन्होंने कुछ बताया ही नहीं कि हाँ मैं पूछ के बता रही हूँ। अच्छा वैसे दिक्कत तो हो रही मेरे ख्याल से ना आपके यहाँ भी, मतलब
दिक्कत तो है ही क्योंकि बेड नहीं है ना सर।
हाँ
मैं दिक्कत बेड की है
हाँ
क्योंकि बेड यहाँ भी सारे फुल हैं सर।
हाँ मतलब जितना आपके पास इन्फॉर्मेशन हिसाब से आपको ये लग रहा है कि फुल ही
हाँ
है।
क्योंकि अभी कल की बात है या परसों की बात है, तो कल यहाँ कह रहे थे सीएमओ वगैरह बात कर रहे थे कि हमारे यहाँ बेड सारे फुल हो गए हैं।
5 different investigative reports in 2 big cities, and what we found was shortage of beds, ICU beds and general beds, overburdened hospitals, lack of clarity on when a bed will be available, critical patients on waiting lists, all of this in Mumbai, private operators running amok, looting people, charging whatever they want for one single trip of an ambulance. In Delhi, the helpline numbers are a mess, and hospitals are beginning to fill up to the point where they can take no more, and most of the hospitals are already completely occupied. This is what the government, central, Delhi and Maharashtra government have to look at. This is what the civic bodies have to look at. If this is the status now, tomorrow as we begin to lift more of our restrictions and begin to inch back to normal life, what will happen then? If there is a jump in the cases, how are we going to tackle those number of cases? Viewers, like we've been repeatedly pointing out, these 2 months were meant to prepare, and the task isn't done yet. These governments, authorities and local administration need to step up. Instead of being in denial, instead of moving slowly, instead of changing policies every second day, they need to figure out where they're going to get us additional healthcare professionals, additional beds, additional ventilators, and so that people don't have to run from pillar to post, dialing 10 different numbers, going from one hospital to the other, shelling out more money than required out of their pocket for one simple treatment. This was our special report. We will keep getting you more in the coming days from different cities. I'm going to take a very short break. Vinay Tiwari continues to stay with us. On the other side, we put the spotlight on the migrants a day after the Supreme Court order. Has anything changed? We'll find out.